Good morning from the Australian National University. I'd like to begin by celebrating and paying my respects to the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples, elders, and their ancestors, the traditional custodians of the land from which I speak to you today. I'd like to tell you about an article that I've called AI and the Future of IR, Disentangling Flesh and Blood, Institutional and Synthetic Moral Agency in World Politics. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is infiltrating every aspect of world politics. By AI, I mean simply the evolving capability of machines to imitate aspects of intelligent human behavior. AI tends to be used as a general label for the various technologies that display this capability, whether we are talking about algorithmic systems or automated robots. Such AI-enabled entities, or what we might call intelligent machines, will continue to disrupt the global workforce, help governments to monitor, control, and judge their citizens, as well as intervene in the politics of other states, and fundamentally change the nature of war. Our perception of these intelligent machines matters. Simply how we understand their capacities, their relative autonomy, and their status will affect how we interpret and respond to practical problems in world politics. Yet, despite the overwhelming impact of AI, the discipline of international relations, or IR, lacks the conceptual tools that would allow us to understand these new synthetic agents. When it comes to their moral status, it seems clear that intelligent machines, whether language generative models like ChatGPT or lethal autonomous weapon systems, are not moral agents or duty bearers in their own right. They do not have the integrated capacities for deliberation, self-reflection, and action that would allow them to qualify as moral agents. They're not liable to the assignment of moral responsibilities, and they're not bodies to which we can coherently apportion blame in the wake of wrongdoing. Rather, they are the tools of the actors that employ them. This is so important to how we understand existing AI-enabled entities, but it's not enough to simply state that these machines are our tools, rather than moral agents in themselves. The stakes are too high, and the risk of misunderstanding too great. We need a framework within which to unpack and defend this assertion and continuously question it as technologies evolve. In this article, I suggest that one way of constructing such a framework is to turn to the sophisticated purpose of actors that we're already familiar with in world politics and about which we make such bold assumptions in IR. What are the defining features that make not only individual human actors, like you and me, but also states and other corporate entities, moral agents, or bearers of duties in world politics? What can this tell us in turn about what it would take for those intelligent machines that are already unsettling every aspect of world politics to also qualify? More speculatively, perhaps, if intelligent machines were to qualify as moral agents at some point in the future, how would they differ from the flesh and blood and corporate conceptions that IR already, at least implicitly, acknowledges? And finally, and importantly, what are the practical risks of ignoring these considerations? I attempt to answer these questions in the article, which is divided into 4 parts. Part 1 argues that agency, the capacity for some degree of purposive action, and moral agency, which also requires more sophisticated capacities and is accompanied by particular expectations, are both radically under-theorized within IR. It also maintains that the emerging synthetic agency of intelligent machines highlights this lack of nuance in our current conceptions and provides a new foil for teasing out a richer, more differentiated account. Part 2 takes us back to the 2 categories of moral agent in world politics that we already recognize: individual human actors and corporate bodies, or what I call institutional moral agents, bodies such as states and intergovernmental organizations, for example. In this section, I draw on and attempt to extend the work of the philosopher Honora O'Neill by comparing and contrasting these different types of moral agent. Part 3 invokes this comparative analysis to propose what features intelligent machines would have to possess to reasonably be expected to discharge duties and be considered culpable in particular contexts. In other words, to qualify as what I call synthetic moral agents. The final section, part 4, then sets out to demonstrate why this analysis and resulting typology of moral agency matter in practice. To do this, I turn to our expectations and perceptions of AI-enabled tools in war, from automated weapons to decision support systems, where the consequences of misunderstanding can be catastrophic. After introducing the category of moral agent of restraint and emphasizing that machines currently can't qualify, I argue that our failure to examine the status of our AI-enabled tools invites two possible instances of what I call misplaced responsibility in war. In such cases, there's a dangerous mismatch between the bodies that we expect to discharge particular duties of restraint and those moral agents that are actually capable of doing this. I could probably talk about this for hours. I don't have the scope to do that here, so I encourage you to read the article if you're interested, and I'll conclude by stepping back for a moment and reflecting on what motivated me to write it. My motivation for tackling this article was threefold. First, it responded to a very welcome prompt from the journal's editors in their call for articles on key challenges facing international politics over the next 50 years. The proliferation of AI and its profound practical impact on world politics makes understanding these emerging technologies and anticipating the risks that accompany them one of the central challenges that we will face collectively over the next half-century. Simply, it's a challenge that we ignore at our peril. The second motivating factor has been more theoretical. That is, my fascination and frustration with how agency has been under-theorized in IR, and how specifically moral agency has been implicitly gestured toward by the discipline, but often either sidestepped or outright rejected as a subject for analysis. The third motivating factor, and perhaps the most personal, has been a puzzle that has arisen as I've worked on the idea over a number of years now that formal organizations are moral agents in world politics. This work has effectively proposed a non-human variation on moral agency, and one question that I've been asked while presenting it is whether my model of institutional moral agency leads to the conclusion that machines can also qualify as duty bearers in their own right. My unexamined response to this question was an adamant no. While I feel confident that recognizing the moral agency of formal organizations in world politics is both crucial in practice and also conceptually compelling, it seemed incredibly problematic to think of AI-enabled entities as duty bearers. This haunted me. I wanted to interrogate my response and figure out whether I was being inconsistent in applying my understanding of moral agency, something that might require me to correct earlier conclusions, or whether there is a convincing morally relevant distinction to be made between the capacities of intelligent machines and the capacities of many formal organizations in world politics. Concluding with the latter, I feel that I've reached a set of answers that I'm happy with, for now, but this work has also raised further questions to address, something that has made it one of the most interesting and rewarding papers that I've written. I'd love to hear your critical feedback on the piece and its conclusions, and look forward to continuing to grapple with the questions raised in the article for a long time to come. Thank you.